Hi guys, in today's episode, I'm so excited to share with you my good friend Joe, who's from Bristol, and he does a job where he works remotely for a very traditional company that doesn't normally allow people to work remotely. So how is he able to convince his boss to let him work remotely? A lot of you guys asked me this question, and I'm so excited to share his interview with you and give you all the practical tips on how you can do it too. So let's dive right into the episode. Before we get started, we just want to give a shout out to Office R&D, who is our sponsor on today's episode. They are a co-working management software company that helps workspaces around the world deliver better experiences to their customers. They share our values of promoting and championing remote work, and they've been our biggest supporters since day one. Okay, so let's continue. I'm so excited to sit down and talk to my good friend Joe here from Bristol, right?
Yeah.
Are you originally from Bristol?
Yeah, originally from Bristol.
Okay, cool. I love Bristol. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but I've had very good times in Bristol.
Oh, I never realized you went there.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. So Joe here is staying also at Swiss Escape, and we got started talking, and there's something we're going to talk about later, the company that he started that really resonates with me. But just to give everyone a framework of Joe and Joe's life. So Joe, can you tell us like where you're from, how long you've been traveling for, and just to get us started?
Yeah, so I have been working remotely for about 2 years now, originally based in Bristol, and I started doing freelance marketing about 2 years ago, and basically transitioned from working with an employer in the manufacturing, like hydraulics industry, and I started doing marketing for them, and eventually that transitioned across to freelance work, and I started doing some freelance work for their distributors, and then that eventually led to being able to go to Australia for 3 months at a time and travel to a couple of other places around the world. Nice. Just freelance marketing and a bit of business development.
So what got you on the plane? Like, is there something that sparked you to start working remotely?
The opportunity that came up in Australia was that I signed up a client through distribution, and they gave me the opportunity to come out to their offices, nice. Which was in Australia. And it's in Brisbane. So it was just an opportunity to get out and do that remote working, especially in like such a massively different time zone, because I still had UK clients, I still had Italian clients. So just the pull of being able to go to somewhere where it was actually warm was great. Yeah.
That's one thing about London and Bristol is like weather. It's so great.
And it worked out quite well because as it started to get cold, or it was going into spring or autumn, I would always just then go across to Brisbane. So I had about a year where I had nothing but summer, which was great.
Nice. That's pretty much my life. I would always joke that I live in like eternal summer for the last 3 years. This is literally the coldest I've been in 3 years, which is okay because we're in the Swiss Alps and it's snowing and it's beautiful. So, but I wanted to ask you, what is the best thing that you've discovered so far while you've been traveling?
Probably that it's not as hard as it seems. Especially this being the first kind of co-working space I've been to, it's made it even easier than I thought it was, because with Australia, it was a bit difficult because you had to book your own Airbnbs, and it was kind of a little bit isolating, and you just the expenses kind of rack up as well. Whereas coming to a place like this and having friends and you can share things with was a lot easier. I think that's probably. And
you were saying too, like the community has been really. What is it about staying here? This is your first co-living.
Yeah.
So tell me more. Like, how has it been eye-opening for you to stay here?
I think one of the challenges of that I started out being remote is the isolation of going from a working place to a kind of culture and just like visiting and being around people all day to just being on your own for large amounts of time. So when I was working remotely, and when I am working remotely back in Bristol, I'm just doing that from my flat, and it can get to the point where it's like, I haven't seen anyone in 4 days. I need to leave and go talk to another human being. So I think that's one of the greatest things about working here, is that you get up every day and you have people to be around and to bounce ideas off of. And because I've only been in this kind of line of work for 2 years, I'm also pretty much surrounded by people who've been doing it for way longer than me.
Yeah.
So they've got really useful advice. They have been through the struggles that I've been through, and just getting people to recognize, or having people around you that recognize you need a break. Mm-hmm. So if I'm stressed out doing a particular job, or I've got like website work to do, if I'm at home back in Bristol, I'm just on my own and I need to consciously think of that by myself. Mm-hmm. But so for example, the two Dans here, that if they see me stressed out, they're like, it's time to take Joe for a walk. And they'll kind of like take me for a walk, like through the old village, come back, and I'll be like, good. And I can get back to work. Nice. So yeah, you can have people around you that understand what you're going through and kind of support you if you're stressed out, or if you've got any questions, or, you know, even if you want to learn something else about a particular industry. So that's been really useful.
Yeah, you got people looking out for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing when people start traveling. I think they worry. I think loneliness is something that people should talk about more, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's something that we all face. If you have your community of support, as humans, that's what we're used to, and we're built for connection. And then you go off into the world, and if you don't have that, then of course you're going to start breaking down, you know? So I think one thing I always want to share with people is that there is this, we're a tight-knit, crazy community of people who travel, and we all look out for each other. It's kind of like how the couple that you were talking about, Dan and Dan, they basically adopted you. Like, you guys are, like, tell them that you guys are like planning to travel more together and everything, right? Yeah,
so like that's the other thing as well, is that they gave me good advice on what other co-living spaces were good and what ones I should maybe like avoid. Mm-hmm. So they picked out like a really good place in Tenerife. So I was just like, yeah, I want to do this more. So yeah, I'm going to book up the same time as they're going.
Nice. And you guys just met, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you knew each other before, you've been years of friends. Like, you guys have only been here at this coliving space together, right?
No, yeah, we just found similar interests, similar kind of, obviously we all love snowboarding, but there's like other things we're all into. And yeah, just instantly became friends.
That's awesome. So what do you specifically like about this co-living space that we're at right now?
It's 2 minutes away from the lift. So, I mean, the whole reason I found a co-working spaces or stumbled across co-living is that I just Googled remote working chalet, and I was looking through Instagram and I found Swiss Escape. Mm-hmm. So my whole goal with starting freelance is, one of the main ones was to snowboard and work at the same time, or live in the mountains. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this just popped up and I was just like, go. Didn't even think about it. It was just book.
Nice. And it's been everything you wanted, right?
Yeah. So like, this has been quite a long time coming for me. So I had to spend time to establish like clients and a good working relationship, and know that I could work remote and be okay on my own. And then I just wanted to make sure that one of the long-term goals was to be able to live and work in the mountains. So especially it's quite easy at the moment because I've got Australian clients. Mm-hmm. So that's always early mornings, late evenings, and then kind of work in the day, make sure you've got what you need done for the next day. Mm-hmm. So there's this kind of good, nice 4 or 5 hour period where I can just like go snowboarding straight away.
Nice. I love it. But I want to talk about that. We were saying this yesterday. You were saying, like, when people walk into your room, when you were first planning all this out, and you said your mates were like kind of teasing you about it, about how much you had been planning this. But I think people need to know how much work it takes to get started. Yeah,
so I've got like a couple of friends, old friends back in Bristol, that say, oh yeah, you're really lucky. And it's like, yeah, luck is one element of it, but it's also a lot of planning and work. And yes, I do have a whole bunch of post-it notes on my wall and a map, and I try and plan out maybe 1 to 2 years in advance, and some of those plans work out, some of them don't, but I'm actually consciously trying to think about where I'm heading and what I'm going to do. And yeah, a couple of friends have kind of teased that, or like how it's like stuck on the living room wall, but I after I got back from Australia, I looked at the stuff that was on there and the post-it notes, and I'd done 80% of it. So
nice.
What's there, I've actually done. So
you're like, well, look at this. That's awesome. Cool. Well, I want to talk about the company that you started. So you're freelancing marketing right now, but you also have started this company that I find fascinating. So tell us what it is and what you hope to accomplish.
Okay. So the Mindful Collective is a not-for-profit organization, and it's focused on sustainability and ethics in business. Mm-hmm. And that's sustainability from all angles, not just energy. That's it's the company's purpose, it's how it treats its people, it's what it does with its processes, and it's what it does with its profit. So economic as well as environmental sustainability.
Nice. And tell us a case study about the plastic cups you were telling us about.
Oh, right, yeah. So we managed to get in touch with a local coffee cafe chain. So they're called Boston Tea Party, and they have cafes dotted around Bristol and up in the Midlands and a few in London. And one of the reasons they got our attention so much is because they decided to ban all single-use cups from their cafes, which they've just been in the BBC is reporting that they lost around 250,000 worth of turnover for that year just on that decision alone. But that was a good case of a company actually putting sustainability and their purpose beyond profit. So one of the key kind of themes of the Mindful Collective is that businesses can make profit ethically, they can do it mindfully, and what they'll find is as the tide is starting to turn towards sustainability, they'll actually benefit more from going down that practice than a company that would just keep going on same as usual.
And I think this is a really good point, because we were talking with someone else here, Rackley and I were all talking, we were like, what was the name of the company?
Yeah.
We were like writing it down. We were like, what? Because as I think our generation especially, we're like, we want to support those companies that are being conscious about sustainability with our money.
Yeah, and like I said, when I'm conscious that I haven't left the house in 4 days and I need to go interact with humans, I usually go work remotely at Boston Tea Party now, and that's the only cafe I'll go to because I want to support them with their mission and what they do.
So eventually, even if they're losing money right now, the whole goal is eventually like it'll tip the other way because people are actively supporting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people are like that in Bristol. They are conscious of the effects we're having on the planet and the effects our decisions are making. So they are gravitating towards supporting businesses that are, following that route.
For sure. So I had a conversation with him about what exactly your purpose of the nonprofit that you want to do. And I'm going to break into layman's terms and tell me if I'm right. So basically you guys want to be an overarching company where sustainability companies that are more specific. So if the one's on being eco-friendly for plastic or environmental things, another one this and that. And you guys can be the one that are connecting them to companies to do like rating systems so that they can have standards. Am I saying this correct?
Yeah.
I want people to understand what you guys do.
Yeah, so effectively there's two kind of longer term goals for the collective. One, we want to come up with an official scoring process that looks at every aspect of a business. So they can go through that assessment and have a score rated to their company based on sustainability and ethics. And then businesses and consumers can make informed decisions about that company on whether they want to do business with them. So there'll be a scoring system based on our 4 Ps, which is purpose, people, process, and profit. So every aspect of a company. And they can make that decision based on that score. And then also eventually we want to be able to kind of be that network for companies that want to start their journey or are already on their journey and they want to improve. So they can cherry pick aspects of our assessment or of our score, and we can say, okay, you want to improve water wastage. We've got 3 companies from around the world that do water assessment and sustainability. So we also want to work with, say, for example, HR firms. So I want to eventually get to a point where there's specific tools or toolkits inside the Mindful Collective. So I'm also working on a potential tool for recruitment that matches people's purposes and what they're enthusiastic about with a career. So cool. rather than looking at a location or a monetary value or even a job type, the first thing you do is, do you want to work for a not-for-profit? Do you want to work for a charity, a limited company? And then you say, okay, what values do you want that company to embody? So do you want them to be about sustainability, or they're really good with, like wildlife conservation, or there's specific themes that you can go for. And then you start looking at, okay, these are the companies in your area and this is the salary. Because what the research from a lot of these recruitment companies is saying is that employee engagement is dropping like a rock. And that's because people's purposes are not aligned with the company that they work for, and a job's just a job. But if people feel like they are involved and committed to the purpose of a company, then the employee engagement rises. So we want to make sure that people are finding jobs that actually make them happy rather than a job for a job's sake.
Yeah, I love everything about this. Like I was like, when we were talking the other day, I'm like, I have like 5 people I want to connect you with. Like, because I think a lot of people are kind of doing this, but what I really like about what you guys are doing, you want to be like an overarching, you were saying like rating system, but also like a matchmaker. Like, okay, you guys need this assessment or you want to do this. Okay, here's some companies that you can pick from. Because I don't think that network, I've been working in sustainability for a long time and I haven't really heard of that. Or one that's working well, at least. Because there are stuff that's out there, but I don't know if it's working that great, you know? So kudos to you. I'm super excited about it. But one thing I want to point out here is the fact that you're doing this while you're traveling.
Yes.
Because so many people think that we're all just like fluffing about and not really working or doing anything. So what would you say to that? The fact that you want to travel but also build something?
I think it's entirely possible, especially depending on, you know, what kind of network or what kind of platform you're working on. Like the Mindful Collective was almost solely online. And although there is kind of face-to-face business development, there's no reason why most of that can't be done remotely. So a lot of it at the moment, like I said, is coming up with the processes of how do we connect certain people to other people. I wouldn't have known about that sustainability company that you mentioned if I hadn't been traveling and coming here anyway. So in some ways, coming to co-working spaces is a great thing for the Mindful Collective, because I'm actually meeting like-minded people that have suggestions on who I can go to and what I could do. So yeah, it's definitely something that's doable. But even going back to my freelance work in marketing, it's in the manufacturing industry, it's in the hydraulics industry, which is really unheard of to even do marketing in that industry.
Yeah, super niche.
They're like, you can sell product online? What? It's like, wow, I got some things to show you. But also the working remote aspect is almost completely unheard of. So I think it's proving that all of this is possible and that most of the marketing that you can do can be done from anywhere. And the whole reason I transitioned from marketing in a physical space for one company was creating value for myself within the organization and then saying, okay, now I want to travel and do this as my own company.
Yeah. Wait, tell me about that too, because we had similar stories about how we started working remotely. So how did you initially get to? Yeah,
so I grew up in the manufacturing industry. So I grew up with a family-run business for a while, so I could strip about hydraulics from the age of like 10 years old. And then, I mean, this is because I never went to university when it came to marketing or anything really. So I was working for that company and they said, okay, we need photos of the product. I was like, I can do that. And then they said, okay, we need a website. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And then I did some marketing qualifications, developed into a marketing role, but I would still sometimes need to go down into the workshop and build things. And then eventually we got bought out by a bigger firm in Italy, and they wanted to expand what we were doing in marketing, this little place in Bath, to the rest of their kind of the rest of their distributors and everything else. So I then kind of expanded my offering, said this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do way more than what I'm originally doing for my role, but I want to work remotely and I want to, I want to travel to Australia to set up some other client work. And at that point, you make yourself so valuable to a company and giving them a vision of where you're going to push things forward that you eventually develop into being an asset that they need.
Yeah, indispensable. That's
just goal. Make yourself indispensable, and it does help that you can also.
Wait, didn't you say like you added on another 10K or something too? You're like, I want extra money, and I'm going to do this remote. Yeah. and they said yes, right?
Yeah, they said yeah, which was quite like at the time I was like, what am I doing? It's like I'm either going to get fired or they're going to it's going to happen. And eventually, they did say yes, and ended up doing a whole branding campaign for the whole company that they're just like rolling out now. And I gained another client in Australia through them being a distributor of that company. And even working in Australia, I was doing marketing for them, and then they'll be like, "Can you help with this machine?" I'm like, "Yeah." Going to pick up a spanner instead and go work on that.
That's amazing. I just think that can be really helpful for people to hear that story. Because
so I think there's going to be more and more people doing this and developing to this if they specialize. I'm probably, one of maybe a handful of people who are in the hydraulic sector that know about marketing. So you take somewhere that's got a demand for something, and a niche, which hydraulics in manufacturing is like really quite niche.
Yeah.
And yeah, you develop that with your skill set to suit a demand.
And then you stand up for yourself and say, I'm going to do this remote.
Yeah.
Because I think that takes courage to do that. You know, like you were saying, you were like, could go either way.
Yeah, definitely. It's just having confidence in yourself. I think that, even if it doesn't work out, you'll find something else.
For sure.
And that's the plunge I had to take when starting the not-for-profit, because we haven't got funding yet, is to kind of balance the marketing, the paid work with the not-for-profit stuff to eventually either get funding or find a way to kind of monetize it, so that it can support what I do. That's
amazing. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Joe. I think your interview is going to really help people.
Awesome.
And I think you were doing it. He was really nervous to do this interview.
First proper interview.
Yeah. But thank you for sitting down with me today. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. And I'm definitely one of your fans. So
awesome.
We're going to talk because I want to see how I can support you. I think I can connect you with a couple people.
That'd be great.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, what an amazing interview with Joe. I really enjoyed how he pitched himself to his boss and was like, look, this is what I got to do for myself, and was able to come up with a solution to make it work so that he could work remotely and get what he wanted. So the company got what they wanted, he got what he wanted, everyone was happy. He also is so cool how he's investing all of his time and energy right now into this new project that I think is really going to help people. So if you liked the episode, hit like, subscribe to our channel to not miss out on anything, and we will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.